Okay, welcome to Sonosoft. We're going to go through a brief system overview. Now, it'll be rather quick, so you can always pause, go back, or just watch the whole thing all over again. First thing is, we're going to sign in. The username does not have to be case sensitive, but the password does. If you just hit enter, it'll go right into the patient records. Otherwise, you select one of those radio buttons. Generally speaking, the top section here is related to the front office generally. The bottom section is related to medical data input. Let's talk about the top first. Here's today's date. If you needed to change it for some reason, you change it here. It'll automatically change back when switching to another patient. So if we switch to this patient and back, it'll automatically come back to today's date. So you don't have to worry about forgetting about it if you needed to backdate something. Obviously, create a new patient record. That's what it does. You click that and it opens up a large page that allows you to put a lot of demographic information in. We'll go to that a little bit later. These buttons down here are a little different for finding things. If you want to look for somebody's middle initial, you click on the middle initial and put find. As it says, enter the middle initial you wish to find. So if you want to look at all the patients, so you just click the filter button. This is the fastest, easiest way to look. You just can type a few letters of the last name, and if you wanted to put them in, say you had 20 Smiths, if you wanted to put them in alphabetical order, you just click that one there. If you wanted to put them in order by birth date, you click this one here. So there's a little easier tools. When you want to go to that patient, you double click that patient name and it goes right to it. We're going to go back to Jane Doe for now, but all the patients are fictitious patients, so we don't have to worry about any HIPAA compliance here on this. The next button would just be going to the next patient that is similar in name. Okay, these arrow buttons will go to the next patient in order. So you just go forward and back. Say if you had to refresh the screen and just wanted to go one patient forward and back. Okay, this row of data here, that's just a simple demographics, and underneath that are all the detailed demographics, as you can see by any one of these tabs. So it's a little faster way of getting to a very finite amount of information. We'll go back to the Home tab here. Up on top here we can see there's a number of radio buttons. So if you have a number of programs that tie all together, you click on the vascular button here. The top stays the same, the patient data, all their information, but the bottom goes to different areas where we can do different studies. Okay, so if we go back to this one here, our base EMR system, it brings open all the information or the tabs to put the medical information for a workup, and then on the treatment end we click this button and there's various treatments. These particular tabs can be changed by us. We can add and remove any number of tabs as we see fit. So going over to the right, we see there's a thumbnail of the patient here. Let's go to the next patient where we see it's Sherry patient. If we double click that, what it does is it opens up her folders, and in the photos folder we'll see that there would normally be her picture in there. Okay, if there was a picture in there, we double click it and push it right over to there, and it would basically populate that spot. So as we let's go back to Jane Doe here. We move over to the right, there are some tools up here. It's pretty obvious. To modify drop-down list, to send emails to patients, to request support from us, to refresh the system, and to upload information to the internet, the patient's portal. Here's another drop-down list of a bunch of different functions in here. We won't go through each one of those, but it's access to different things. One of them would be ePrescribe and a number of different things, a chart list, the time card, and then we have these three little messages over here. Notice there you have different colors. If this is in red, it's not ready for billing, but if we double click it, it'll bring up a list of the things that are required to put on the insurance form, so you can just check and see which ones they are. It should be all in green, much like this one is over here where it says MU. Okay, that's meaningful use, and they have all the demographics, so everything's fine there. If we were on a patient where they weren't in there, like this one here, there's some that are missing. So you'd see the missing fields would be the preferred language and the ethnicity. So you can go back and correct those, and that would turn green then. And the one in the center is a message system for all of the staff, inter-office communications. Sold messages, sent messages, and that's how you can communicate from each other when somebody is not there. When there is a message, this will be, say, one new message or two new messages, and it'll be blinking to get your attention. In these tabs at the bottom here, we have tucked away various amounts of information. Under the extended demographics tab, there's this button here that says Quick Edit Patient Demographics Form, and this is the same form that pops up when you go to create a new patient. As you notice here, there's a patient demographics, the physicians, the emergency contact, and a primary, secondary, and tertiary insurance. And when you add a patient as a subscriber here, you can copy the patient over and populate that information very quickly and easily. And then save and close it, and it flows to the various areas and populates that information. See, so that's the top part here. Obviously, we have a few more areas of buttons than that. Let's talk about referring physicians. To find a physician, instead of using the drop down, you can double click it and it opens up a filter. So you can just put a few letters of the last name here and double click on whatever physician you want to add to that place right there. This is the primary physician. This is the one who does the interpretation, or the surgeon. And the technologist. Adding a new technologist is as simple as clicking this modify drop down list, putting the person in, and click add. Then we have the source, and that is, where did the patient come from? And you can change any of these particular sources, but you place in there where the patient come from, and it takes that information and uses it in various marketing reports. And then, because we can use multiple clinics, we have a location or service, and you pick whatever location you are in here. Okay, and then we have patient lists. Today's patients, we have the list of the patients for today. Obviously, it brings up today's calendar, and you can click on any one of them and find out what their summary of their last several visits. And the view summary here, again, is a summary of the patient's prior visits as we collect that information. And underneath this is the medical part of it. As you can see here, we have subjective complaints, past medical history. We're going to save that record. Past medical history, review of systems, etc. So this is where the medical staff puts in the data, and once that data is put in, then they create a patient's report. So these two large buttons in the center here would be to document the encounter. So we'd have here the venous initial impression of the ultrasound and various reports like that, as they're described in this area down here. And then once a report is created, then it's in the patient's chart. And so when we want to look at that patient's chart, we can see that it populates various visits here, and or pushes them into any of these folders, which we have capability to say, like we pushed a echo report into that folder. And so that's a basic overview of how the system works.